Hi, it's me, Vicki Marie. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I had to get ready and then I had to go to the little girl's room. I got myself a drink. And just the time just went. Okay, so there's quite a lot of you here, I can see. Thank you for being here with me. Now, I feel under pressure now that I have to dress up for the lives. So I've got on my my nice gloves. I'm red devil tonight. I will be not taking all my clothes. I will be removing this when I come to talk about Fred and Rose, because obviously it's a serious subject. But I think it's nice to sort of make you laugh, cheer you up, wear something nice as I'm going through like the preliminaries. We can have a little bit of a laugh. I've got these, I'll tell you what, these boas are really hot. Okay, so first of all, as always, I want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who's here with me, everyone who's subscribed. If you've not been on my channel before, and it's buffering. There you go. I don't always dress. Well, do you know what? I say I don't always. I am going on lives. I'm going to make a real effort to wear something a little bit different, just to cheer people up and make them smile, at least in the beginning of the video. Anyway, right, I'm trying not to read the chat because I'm going to go to the chat in a bit. So yeah, thank you. So if you're new to this channel, there's quite a lot of chat to begin with, so you've still got time to get a cup of tea if you don't like the chat, etc. A few things to go through, a little bit of housekeeping. But anyway, basically, the first thing I always like to do is say thank you. If you're not subscribed yet, maybe you'd think about subscribing. But I want to thank everybody who subscribes. Some people don't like to subscribe, they just watch. They don't want notifications, they just want to watch when they feel like it, and that's fine. Thank you even to my trolls, my trolley dollies who help support my channel. Now, what else do I want to say? Oh, some people go a little bit further and they've joined my channel, they've become members. Thank you so much for that. Every Thursday evening we have a special members live, and also there's some extra content on the members section. And I am serializing my crime novel on there. So that's exclusive to members. So if you want to see how my crime novel is developing, membership is €1.99 a month, cancelable anytime. Okay, so that's membership. Oh yeah, thanks to anyone who sent me a Ko-fi. People have sent me Ko-fis, supers, PayPal'd me. Thanks to everyone who sends me an email. Any kind of participation in my channel is so much appreciated, because my channel wouldn't be anything without all you out there. I'd just be sat here in a boa talking into space. I do that sometimes when I feel like it. No, I don't. Okay, what was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, Rumble, the Rumble in the jungle. So yes, I'm on Rumble now, just in case it's a backup plan, because, you know, we found out recently with a couple of examples of people just getting chucked unceremoniously off YouTube. And, you know, I would be absolutely devastated, because it's, you know, I enjoy doing these live streams and things and doing the videos. And if suddenly YouTube said, oh, that's it, sayonara, adios amiga, what would I do? So I've signed up to Rumble, and I'm just starting there. I'm loading up some videos. I think I'm just going to load up like my serial killer Sundays or true crime, because I do lots of different videos. Sometimes I talk about things that aren't true crime, you know, just really talk about what I think is interesting, what I think you'll find interesting. But I think on the Rumble, what I'm going to do is load up gradually the YouTube, the videos that I've done on, on true crime, and just see how it goes. And then I've got a channel there now. Lots of you have gone over there and signed up there. Thank you so much. I think I've got about 20 or just under 20 followers now, which is great. It reminds me of the old days in YouTube, when you're just starting off and you get a few subscribers and you get a few more, and it's like really quite exciting. And you think, oh, someone's been watching the videos and that, so it's sort of nice anyway. So it's good to have an alternative, isn't it? So that's Rumble. So if you don't mind and you've got time, it's free. If you've got time to go over there, you might find something on there that you find interesting, because there's quite a lot of weird and wonderful things on there. It's a good platform for small channels, I think. So yeah. Anyway, and thank you to everybody who has already. So what's the next thing I want to tell you about? Something that I haven't shown you for a little while, or a couple of days anyway. I want to show those of you who watch my channel regularly, you will know that I teach in my other life. I'm a Spanish teacher. So I'm just going to show you, if you're interested in learning Spanish, these are my books on Amazon. Break the Language Barrier Levels 1 to 5. Now, this is Amazon.uk, but they're available on any Amazon site all over the world, even Abu Dhabi, even New Zealand, everywhere. They're available everywhere, because I have students all over the world. I do Zoom classes as well, but you can learn at home with the books. And I have another YouTube channel which has a playlist. All the books are on the playlist. I also, these are my little book. These are little dual language books. Rocky the Rebel. There's a few of them. Princess Tia's Great Adventure. These are just like books in English and Spanish. Don't know why that's. I don't know where Amazon gets its prices from. £15.68. That's not the price I've got. Anyway, I've got to look at these prices. So the other thing I've noticed is, like, so that was £11, the level 3. The level 2 is £11.75. The level 5 is £8.77. The level 4 is £12.41. Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you. You probably think what you're telling us this for, but. And the level 1 is £7.97. They're all supposed to be the same price, so I don't know where Amazon's getting that from. See, that's only £5.35. The Rocky the Rebel. No wonder nobody buys the Princess Tia's Great Adventure. I think it's because that's one's in colour. Anyway, sorry. So let's get off that subject. The other book you might be interested in, which is available in paperback or on Kindle, is Confessions of a Spanish Teacher. This is the book about my story, how I came to live in Spain, how I got interested in true crime because of a stalking experience that I had with an ex-partner, just sort of various things. It's some of it's sad, some of it's funny, but it is about me. So if you want to know a little bit about me, the book is you might enjoy, is Confessions of a Spanish Teacher. Okay, so that's the books. So as I have to shut down these things. Now then, so that's the housekeeping out of the way. What I'm going to do now, I do like this bow. I like red, but red comes in and out of fashion, doesn't it? It's not, I don't think it's actually in fashion at the moment, but I do like a bit of red. It's probably one of my favourite colours. Saskia, you're gonna get, anyway, let me go right back up to the beginning of the chat. I've missed a lot of chat, so I just want to say hello to everyone. And then we will be talking about Fred and Rose West. I know that most of you, wherever you are, you will have heard of Fred and Rose West. They are notorious, aren't they? I mean, how awful to be sort of famous for being like such a horrible, couple, or being such a horrible person. You know, there's sort of like, I mean, what do you think? There are more Fred and Roses out there? You know, because it's every now and again that these things come to the forefront, don't they? You know, and they operated for years before they were caught, like most serial killers. And now, of course, this Gilgo Beach serial killer has been caught, though he hasn't, I don't think he's actually killed for quite a long time. But the DNA, you know, the guy was under suspicion, and the DNA, you see, now has changed. It's a game changer, isn't it, DNA? Do you think there are more out there, though? You know, or that's the bangers going off outside. It's not a gun, hopefully. Do you think there are more out there? People like Fred and Rose with bodies buried in the garden or under the, you know. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so Saskia. Hi, Saskia. Hi, Princess. Hi, Desi. Hi, Chumba. And they're chatting between them. Oh yeah, Princess talking about Bubble. Hi, David. Oh, the guns are going off. Do you know, honestly, God, I know you probably think I'm just saying it, but there must be something. It's not even 8 o'clock. They know, don't they? They know. They're waiting outside. Go, yeah, because I've done it. I've done it earlier today. So, oh, it's Sunday. I'll start a bit earlier because it's the nights are starting to draw in a little bit now, and it's like, you know, you want to get an earlier night, or I do, because don't forget it's an hour ahead here. And they've started the bangers earlier. So I think they're waiting outside my house. They go, oh, she's on a live. Go on. Rose Petal. Hi, Rose Petal. I've got to be careful. You've got no voice. Can you hear me? You can hear me, can't you? Please tell me you can hear me. Let me just go to the bottom. Yeah, you can hear me. Yeah, the dogs aren't barking because the big dog is upstairs. Let me just, sorry, I've got to go back up to where I was. Gosh. Yeah, oh, Princess, were you worrying about me because I was a little bit late, wasn't I? Right, I don't think I've missed anybody. So I'm going down. I'm still going down the chat. So 2 minutes. Oh, yeah, there was a funny comment from Saskia that she said she was a bit late because she was feeling her dog. I presume you meant feeding. Rose Petal. Russell's necklace. Yeah, I liked his white shirt better. I'm back. We shouldn't concentrate on what people are wearing. But having said that, we can't help it. And especially on YouTube. Especially on YouTube, if my picture goes off, it's just buffering for some reason. Maybe the internet's a bit dodgy. But we can't help it because YouTube or medium, aren't they? You know, they're like, yeah, if you would just listen to the radio, you're not concentrating on what people are wearing because you can't see what they're wearing. But when you're watching someone talking, it's just them right in front of you. I mean, really, you are going to concentrate on what they're wearing, or you're going to concentrate on the background, or, you know, you can't help it really, can you? You know, it's just hi, Stuart. Saskia, thank you. Stunning, that's a lovely word. I like that word. I wish I did look stunning. Hi, Tina. Oh, thank you, David. Oh, you're feeding soon, Mello, so you won't be able to follow much chat. Don't worry. Hi, Caroline. Australia. Oh, my goodness. 2:30 a.m. Well, it was worth seeing the boa, wasn't it, Caroline? Oh, thank you. Oh, everyone should join. I'm going to feature that because thank you, Saskia. It's a nice thing to say. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm getting a lot of love here, which is nice. Hi, Cuba Lakeland. Yes, let's put yours on now. Thumbs up. Thank you. Cuba Lakeland's in America. Have you heard of this case? Hi, Wendy. No, we do. Every Sunday is Serial Killer Sunday. We do a different serial killer every Sunday, and it's a regular feature that I do, Serial Killer Sunday. Yeah, hi Vicki Marie from me across the sea. And just remind me where you are, Wendy. Where are you? Yeah, exactly, Caroline. That's the reason for setting up Rumble, just in case. It's a just in case. Because it's sort of, I've heard of a couple of people that have been chucked off YouTube, and they're always a problem, YouTube. As you know, you just never know. I don't know with this, because of the subject, especially that I do, a lot of true crime and that, quite often they sort of pull up on things. But to be honest, sometimes I'll do a video on something that I think, oh, they're bound to pull up on this, and they don't. I just don't understand it. That's the problem. Yep, Saskia's going to learn Spanish. Hi, Shelley. Yes, Scarlet Woman. That's me, Scarlet Woman. Yeah, I've had my moments. Yeah, they are quickly. Yeah, round moats. Oh God, I've been haunted by Ted Bundy, round moat. Now it's Fred West, probably. Hi, Stuart. Let's see. Gosh, a lot of chat. I know. I tell you, Wendy, why have they not invented fireworks that don't make a noise? Or they have, I think, haven't they? But yeah, dressing up is fun, isn't it? So I'm doing, and don't forget, all you members out there, on Thursday, I want you to be wearing your mask. You need to send me photos. I'm going to show the photos of you in your mask, because nobody will know who you are because you'll have a mask on. But over the sea from Spain, you mean then? I thought you weren't abroad in that sense, and I thought over the sea, but of course I'm over the sea. You have to be patient with me. It takes a little while for me for things to sink in. Yeah, I've been banned from Twitter already, so I'm very nervous. Still don't know why I was banned from X or Twitter. So, okay, I think I've said hello to everybody. If I've forgotten to say hello to everybody who's actually in the chat, say hello again, and I'll say hello back. Now I know there's a lot of people don't like to join in the chat. They're a little bit shy, or maybe they're eating their dinner or doing stuff or whatever. That's fine. Just thank you for being here and watching, and I hope I've made you laugh with my boa and my gloves. Next week I'm going to get some more masks. I feel under pressure now to wear something different. But, this is what I was saying about YouTube or anything. It's a visual thing. If it just gives people a smile or whatever, it's worth it, isn't it? A little dress up. Hi, Brenda. Yeah, the twits at Twitter. Well, Elon Musk. Oh, God, I'm frightened to mention his name. What's your dog? Tell us what your dog's done. Okay, now, what's that? That's probably a message to tell me that I've gone live. Yep, Vicki Marie Chaps is live. Okay, Now, yeah, you haven't missed anything, Brenda, because as usual, I haven't actually got around to doing anything yet or talking about the case properly yet. Now, what I want to do, I think there's probably nobody out there. Let me know if you haven't heard of this case. Oh, thank you, Mellow Maggot. Oh, it came up in red. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It matches with my boa. Thank you so much. Is there anybody out there who hasn't heard of this case? These things I want you to tell me what you think in chat. One, is there anybody out there who's watching who hasn't heard of this case? And two, do you think that there are more Wests out there, Fred Wests out there, you know, or Fred and Rose West out there, serial killers who we don't know about, who have got people buried in their garden? This sort of fascinates me because we only, you know, they're rare, obviously, you know, but then you think, well, are they rare? But are there still lots of people out there that we don't know about? Like if you've been reading if you remember, and you've been reading my novel, Glenda, there are lots of Glendas out there who've got maybe somebody. Yeah, I think there probably are, Wendy, don't you? Now, what I really want to concentrate on in this video is more the victims, because I do think with serial killers, etc., the victims get forgotten sometimes. Everybody knows the name of the killers, don't they? They become like infamous. There's a sort of lurid attraction, and I'm as guilty as anyone. I don't know what it is. You know, we're fascinated we hate them, but we're fascinated by them. You know, we don't, you know, what is it? Is it because we just want to try and understand how people can do things like that? We can't get our heads around it. You know, how can people treat other people in this way, and family? I mean, you know, one of Fred and Rose's victims was their own daughter. And Fred's stepdaughter, but that's removed at least biologically. But one of the victims was actually their mutual daughter, Heather. You know, how can they? Yeah, exactly, Stuart. Rachel Marin, her killer's still not been found yet. And at the same time, there were 2 girls killed in Los Angeles. Apparently, Los Angeles is quite a dangerous place to live, from what I can gather. There's a very high murder rate there. Now, this all happened in Gloucester. Gloucester hasn't got a high murder rate. Well, it's probably not now, but at the time it had, you know, it obviously be all these murders just over a couple of years. But I don't think Gloucester's like a hotbed of murder, you know, like Los Angeles is or whatever. You know, I don't know, to be honest. We've got to look at that one day. Where is the most dangerous place, if you like to? I think Blackpool is one of the most dangerous places to live in the UK. 2 Rose West daughters. I think only one was her daughter, Heather. The other one was his first wife's daughter, and it wasn't his daughter. She was already pregnant when he met her. Anyway, we're going to look at that. Another couple, David and Pauline Williams, were friends of the West. Their house was searched. I don't know about that, Chumba. But why are they in the prison? Why are they in prison? Did they find other bodies? Were they involved in it, do they think? Oh, well, we'll look at that in a minute. Well, first of all, let's just look briefly. And I mean briefly because I want to concentrate more on the victims than Fred and Rose. So first of all, we're just going to, well, we'll look at some pictures. And we'll have a little look at Fred's sort of background, if you like, and Rose's background. Okay, so here they are. Here they are. Fred and Rose. Now this is them when they were young. I find this particular photo fascinating because Rose looks just so young, and she was a lot younger than him. He looks very adoringly at her there. I mean, to all intents and purposes, he was terrified of her. And I do think, but then Rose herself, she had a very low IQ, didn't she? And oh, is that her with the baby? That'd be Heather when she was a baby. Gosh. You know, it was... Anyway, that's some photos of them. Fred, of course, is no longer with us because he deleted himself. Well, supposedly, while he was in prison. Sometimes I wonder about these hangings in prison. You know, I wonder... has anyone else been involved in that? And then they just sort of say, oh, well, they hung themselves. We never know. It's just that what one prisoner in America, Ed Kemper, who's a serial killer, who's in prison there, he said that there's lots of deaths that are ostensibly self-deletions, but actually aren't. Not necessarily I'm saying the prison guards do it, but other prisoners do it and they get covered, it gets covered up. I don't know, maybe he did do it to himself. I sort of almost be surprised if he did it to himself to leave Rose to sort of cope with it all, because he seemed to sort of idolise her and put her on a pedestal. So would he have done that? I don't know. Anyway, just this this picture. This is Cromwell Street, where they did it all. Well, most of these. Not every murder happened here, but the house has been pulled down and just made into a walkway now. Anyway, so let me just tell you a little bit about Fred. So he was born on the 29th of September 1941. And between him and Rose, they committed at least 12 murders. I mean, there's thought there might be more, but because, you know, Fred deleted himself, so we've never had a chance to learn about any more. But all his victims were young women, and they ranged in age, or their victims, I should say, they ranged in age from 8 years old, which was how old Charmaine was, his stepdaughter, and to 27, I think. So very young, you know. When I was sort of reading this, and you know, his first wife, Charmaine's mother, who he ended up murdering, she was 27 or something. I just thought, oh my God, so young. It just seems so young, doesn't it? Anyway, there was a lot, you know, there was RAPE, there was torture, you know. I can't go into all the details. I don't like going into all the details anyway. But basically, Fred, his early life, he came from one of these families where incest was sort of rife. You know, they were farm workers, they were close-knit, mutually protective. Now, there's all this sort of aspersions cast that there might have been incest in the family with his mother, etc. But I don't know if any of that has been actually sort of proved, you know. And there was rumours of all sorts of things. His father basically, supposedly, more or less taught him that just to take what he could get whenever he could get it from anyone or anything. You know, that was the sort of the fatherly influence his father had. Though he did give him he did teach him a strong work ethic. That's the positivity that he did to it. He always worked, he earned good money, he did all sorts of things. But, you know, obviously, so that was the only positive thing I think you could say about Fred, really. He worked hard, and he did work hard. Anyway, he got married when he was quite young. I think he was 21. when he married Catherine Costello, and she comes into the story later on. She was Scottish. And they had a daughter together. Well, actually, they didn't have a daughter together. She was already pregnant when she met Fred. And when she gave birth to the baby, Charmaine, she was mixed race. But Fred did treat her as if he was her own daughter. But eventually they split up. And Catherine went back to Scotland. Okay, now why she didn't take Charmaine with her, I'm not actually sure. Why did they take Charmaine? Why didn't she take Charmaine back with her? Anyway, they didn't. So, you know, that unfortunately was signing Charmaine's death warrant. Anyway, I'm going into the victims later. I just want to tell you, now, there are other things that they say about Fred, that he had an accident on his motorbike, he had a head injury. You know, quite often they say that head injuries can result in people, you know, eventually becoming serial killers. I don't know if that's true. I just don't know, basically. Another incident that happened that was that he did accidentally run over a little boy and kill him in 1965, but he was cleared of all wrongdoing. So he went back to Gloucester, because then, that was when he was in Glasgow. So he went, right, okay. So he must have gone to Glasgow to live, and then he went back to Gloucester because of this accident, and he took Charmaine and Anna Marie with him. Anyway, let's now just have a quick look, because as I said, I don't really want to concentrate on on them as much as I want to concentrate on the victims and, you know, how they came to be victims, and talk about their names and their lives, etc. Now, I think Rose and Fred, a bit like Hindley and Brady, they were like a perfect storm waiting to meet, weren't they? You know, who knows that if Brady wouldn't have met Hindley, would he have done anything? Because he needed a woman to help him for a start. And if Hindley hadn't have met Brady, would she have ever, you know, done those things? It's almost like they had to have each other to do it. The same with Homolka and the Ken and Barbie killers in Canada. You know, do they need this other person? Are they a piece, a set that fit together? And if they would never have met, never fitted together, would these things have happened? So anyway, Rose had met, she was very, again, there was supposedly a lot of incest in her family. She met Fred when she was very, very, very young. He prostituted her, you know, he used to, I think, you know, he would, men would pay him and he would watch her, you know, sleeping with other men, etc. You know, so although they seem to have this really strong relationship, it wasn't an exclusive relationship. And she is still with us. She is in prison. She's 69 years old. And one thing that really fascinated me was that in the prison, High Rio, they apparently refer to her as Auntie Rose. The prison officers refer to, everyone in the prison refers to Rose West as Auntie Rose, because she reminds them of their elder relatives, and she loves knitting. Well, I tell you what, I don't think she reminds me of any of my aunties. Who, you know, I don't know if I don't think I've got any living aunties now, but you know, they certainly, none of them were like Rose. Maybe some of them like knitting, but that's about as far as it goes. And she was in prison with Joanne Dennehy, who is, you know, I did a video on her not long. She's one of the very few, another female serial killer. There are very few serial killers, and she was in prison with her, but they had to move her because Joanne Dennehy killed men and she didn't like anyone who did anything to children. So she threatened to murder Rose West, so they had to move Rose West out of that prison. But into that prison now has gone Lucy Letby, so I don't know if she's bumped into Joanne Dennehy yet. Hi, Joe H. Hope I didn't miss anyone else there. I've said hello to Rio. Yeah, I don't think I can see that you're all chatting, but I don't think I missed anyone. So yeah, so it's 69. Well, she's got a whole life tariff, Rose West. She will never get out of prison. So she's one of the very few people in Britain that have been given a whole life tariff. No parole, never. Not happening. You will not pass go. You will not receive 200 quid. You're in prison for life. But she's probably comfy now. I mean, she's supposed to have quite a low IQ. That's the only thing I'll say in her defence. But, you know, from what I've read of this case, she wasn't only, you know, just led by Fred. She was just as bad as him, if not worse, because in fact he was terrified of her. So if he was terrified of her, that tells you a lot, doesn't it, really? Anyway, sorry. So I'm going to put some of these windows down a minute. Just so that I can concentrate on the windows that I want to show you. I've been looking at other things as well. Get them down so I don't get confused. Okay, so yeah, let me just check you're all okay in the chat. I think you are. Yeah, where will they bury her? You know, there's something, I know, Auntie Rose Mellow Maggot. I mean, for goodness sake. So that's a nickname. I suppose, you know, she is harmless now. I mean, obviously she is, but look at everything that she did. You know, it's, God, I think I've been bitten by a mosquito. Anyway. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat, but I shouldn't. I should be just getting on with it, shouldn't I? Okay, now let's talk about the victims, because the victims are the most important thing, always, aren't they? And I do think victims get lost in the whole thing of the actual serial killer, you know. So we're going to look at so there were 12 that we know of. He did insinuate that there were more, but nothing's ever been proven that there are more. So it says he's been described as the epitome of evil. I do think Rose, in fact, both of them to me look like they're not quite all there, but then, you know, a lot of people have low IQs or maybe some, I don't know, what's the word, learning difficulties, or they don't go around murdering people. There's got to be something. You know, I always think, you know, it's that, are people born bad or are they made that way? I think they're born bad. I do. Because I think even though people can be vulnerable, and I know people can be vulnerable, but I think there's only so far you can lead someone unless there's something wrong with them. Because they, you know, I could see how it could happen once. You know, like something happens somewhere, your husband or wife or whatever does something, you think, oh my God, and, you know, you don't know what to do. You don't know, you're scared of them. But as soon as you had a chance to go and report that, you would go and report it, wouldn't you? You know, you could get caught up in the moment as it was happening because you were thinking, how am I going to get out of this without them actually doing something to me as well? But as soon as you got the chance that next day when you popped out to the shop or whatever, you'd be down the police station. Anyway, so they operated over 20 years. So it makes you think that, you know, 12 victims is not many over 20 years, is it? So it does make you wonder if there were more victims. Because, anyway, we'll never know properly. But along with his wife, Rosemary, the couple raped, tortured and murdered an unknown number of people. Oh, they're saying an unknown period. So these are their 12 confirmed victims. So the first victim, now, the other thing we have to remember is the lovely guy that Fred was, 2 of the women that he killed were pregnant with his baby. One was nearly full term, wasn't that far from giving birth. But his first victim was Anne McFall. She was 18 and she was a nanny to his children from his first marriage. So she worked in a knitwear factory in Glasgow, and in 1966 she moved with friends to the Gloucester area, and she became a nanny to Fred West's children from his first marriage to Catherine Costello. According to Fred, she flirted relentlessly with him. Yeah, right. Anyway, maybe she did. He seems to have had a charm over women. I mean, I can't deny it. I mean, women seem to have liked him, from what survivors and that have said, that he had this charm. I can't see it, but there you go, each to their own. Anyway, she was believed to be naive. Yeah, well, she'd have to be bloody naive, bless her. So she lived with him in his caravan and became his lover during one of the periods when his wife was away. And she was pregnant when she disappeared in May 1967. And her remains and those of the unborn baby were found in a field at Kempley, near Fred West's home village of Muchmarcle, Herefordshire. So, bless. Prayers for Anne. Rest in peace. 18 years old and pregnant. Now, I don't think she was his second. Catherine Costello was his wife, his first wife. I don't think she was his second victim. I think, she was his second victim, probably. Oh, these are the ones that are thought to be that only he killed. So him on his own killed these. That's right. So Catherine Rena Costello. She was born in Scotland. She was West's first wife and his second victim. She and West married at Ledbury in 1962 when she was pregnant with another man's child. So it was a mixed race child. She gave birth to Charmaine in 1963. Gosh. Understood to have a strong personality. Mr. Wansall. Who's Mr. Wansall? Don't know who Mr. Wansall is. He must be the biographer. His biographer, yeah. So Mr. Wansall said, Catherine, so don't forget all these are things that Fred has told him. So Catherine hasn't got her voice, Anne McFall hasn't got her voice. These are just what Fred has said. So she was understood to have a strong personality. Mr. Wansall said Catherine Costello was more than a match for Fred. Bearing in mind, Fred had said this. And the couple went on to have another child, Anne-Marie, a year later. Anne-Marie survived. Anne-Marie, you can, she's given interviews. She did survive. She didn't manage to get, fortunately, didn't get murdered by Rose. It was the other child, the first child, Charmaine. But anyway, we're going to come on to that. So she was described as a tough and manipulative woman by Fred, remember? Oh, that's really annoying. You think, would a family have described her as that? Obviously, Fred is going to describe her like that. Anyway, she left West in 1969 amid reports of violence and sexual abuse, and friends and family lost contact with her in 1971, and her remains were also found in a field in Kempley, close to where Anne McFall was buried. Now, these next victims are the ones that they were both involved with in some way. So he met her when she was only 15 and he married her 3 years later in 1972, and they were jointly charged with the murder of these 10 victims. Charmaine West. Now, she was only 8 years old, this little girl. It's understood she hated Rosemary West with a passion and was a rebellious little girl. You know, again, it's like victim blaming, isn't it? She was a rebellious little girl. Well, this is what he said. So we've always just got to remember that this is what Fred said, not that we necessarily know what really Charmaine was like. And even if she was a rebellious little girl, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean you murder them, does it? Anyway, it was Rosemary who murdered Charmaine. Fred was in prison for the theft of car tyres and a vehicle tax disc. And when he was released, so when he came out, Charmaine was there in the house dead. And when he was released, he buried her body beneath the kitchen window at the couple's home in Midland Road in Gloucester. So this was before the move to Cromwell Street. Now, how they preyed on people was hitchhikers, you know, and a lot of hitchhikers would get into the car or, you know, accept jobs, etc., because they were a couple, you know, and I think it's easier to get people to get into your car or get women to get into your car if you've got another woman in the car. That's what happened with Hindley and Brady. Brady wouldn't have been able to get those women, girls, to boys, you know, to go with him. It was Hindley that made it possible. And thank God she never came out of prison and he never came out of prison. Thank God for that. Anyway, Linda Goff lived in Gloucester with her family. She attended the local primary school and then was enrolled in a private school in Midland Road. She later worked as a seamstress and became friendly with lodgers at the West Home. And it's believed she had sex with some of them. Mr. Wanzel said Linda was naive. Oh, there's another one that's naive. This is Fred, obviously, who's saying this. So she was 19 years old and she vanished in April in 1973 and her parents reported her missing and her remains were found in a former car inspection pit in a garage that had been converted into a bathroom at 25 Cromwell Street. So rest in peace, Linda, Charmaine, Catherine. Again, see, you know, some of these victims, you just don't remember their names because their names are not, you know, everybody knows Fred and Rose West, but the victims, would you know their names? We should know their names. So Carol Ann Cooper, known as Kaz, was born in Luton, Bedfordshire and later lived in Worcester. At the time of her disappearance in November 1973, she was staying at the Pine Children's Home. She'd been given permission to spend the weekend with her grandmother and she disappeared after boarding a bus back to the home following a night out on the 10th of November. Extensive enquiries were made by West Mercia officers, but they were unable to track her down. Her body was found buried in the cellar at 25 Cromwell Street, and detectives concluded the West had picked her up while she was hitchhiking. So bless, rest in peace, Carol Ann Cooper. Okay, the next one, Lucy Partington. She was 21 years old. She was born in St Albans and moved to Bishop's Cleeve soon after. She was a clever and much-liked woman, went to Exeter University on the 20th of December 1973. She returned home for Christmas. She disappeared 2 days later after leaving a friend's house. And it is thought that the West picked her up while she was waiting for a bus to her home in Gretton near Winchcombe. I bet there's a lot of, you know, when hitchhiking, etc., women, to get into a car, they've got to feel safe, haven't they? And that, you know, I don't know, terrible. Anyway, her mother reported her missing to police, sparking a massive search. Mr. Wansell said her case was often seen as the one that attracts the most anger. Oh, was that because she was middle class? Miss Partington was middle class and had recently converted to Catholicism. Her remains were found beneath the floor at 25 Cromwell Street. Bless, rest in peace. Now, this lady was born in Switzerland and she was travelling in England. Therese Siegenthaler. She was 21. She was a student in London. She had left school at 16 but continued her education, and it is believed she came to England in the early 70s to continue her studies. At the weekend, she worked in a ballet shoe shop in the Swiss Centre in Leicester Square. Mr. Wansell described her as petite with blondish, mousy hair. Bless her. She disappeared in Easter in 1974, having set out hitchhiking to Ireland to visit a friend who was a priest. She never reached her destination. She was well used to it is thought that she was well used to hitchhiking, and she had boasted to friends that she could look after herself. So there was an investigation carried out, but no success, but her remains were found under the floor of the cellar. Rest in peace, Therese. This is the youngest victim, well, apart from Charmaine, the youngest of the victims to be found at Cromwell Street, Shirley Hubbard. She was another girl who had been in care. I think she was born in Birmingham, given the name Shirley Lloyd, although she was taken into care when she was 2 years old. So another vulnerable girl. She attended Droitwich High School, and at the time of her disappearance, she was engaged in work experience at Debenhams in Worcester. On 14th of November 1974, she left work and was believed to have been travelling home, but she disappeared. She was reported missing to the police, but no trace of her was found. Her remains were eventually found under the floor of the cellar at Cromwell Street. Rest in peace, Shirley. Juanita Mott. Juanita Mott was born in 1957, and she went to school in Gloucester, and she left in 1972 to take up work. According to Mr. Wansell, I just want to know where this Mr. Wansell's information comes from. She was rebellious, difficult and strong-willed. These must be Fred's words, but attractive and outgoing. When she was 18 in 1975, she left her address in Newent and was believed to be travelling to Gloucester, but she vanished the day before a friend's wedding. Her disappearance was not reported to the police. Though her family did contact the Missing Persons Bureau and the media, her remains were found in the cellar of 25 Cromwell Street. So rest in peace, prayers for Juanita Mott. Shirley Ann Robinson. Now, she was Fred's lover, and she was pregnant. She was nearly full-term pregnant because when her body was found, she was about 8 months pregnant. So she lodged with Fred and Rose West, and she became Fred West's lover. She was born in Leicestershire and later lived in both Germany and the West Midlands. Mr. Wansell said, and this will be Fred again who said it, she saw herself as Rose's replacement, and it had been suggested that Rose told Fred Shirley had to go. Miss Robinson, who was outward looking and rather worldly, conceived a child with Fred West and was about 8 months pregnant when she was last seen in May 1978. Her body and her unborn child were found buried in the garden at the West home. Now, I don't know if you know, I'm just going back to the chat because I've hope I haven't missed anyone coming in. I know, well, hi DMV, all those poor girls. Hi Joe H. Yes, I'm looking very ooh la la. Just trying to cheer people up. I know it's a serious subject, but on a Sunday night we need a little bit of what's the word? Something to cheer us up. Bless us. Bless us. Hi Brenda. Okay. Now, going back to the victims. Now, this lady, Shirley Ann Robinson, gosh, of course, she wouldn't have known what had happened before. She really thought that Rose was just going to let her step in and sort of replace her. She obviously didn't know what sort of person Rose was, did she? Oh, and I was going to say, yeah, so I don't know if you know how they were finally caught when they went looking for Heather's remains. That's how they realised what they had, you know, on their hands, because didn't they find, wasn't it there that the police, they found part of a leg or whatever, but then they found something else and they realised they were from two different people. So they realised, because they were only looking for Heather, but they realised that there was more than one person buried there, you know, and that's when it started to dawn on them what they were looking at. You know, so rest in peace, Shirley Ann Robinson, and the baby, of course, and the baby of Anne McFall as well. Because, you know, they should count, when you kill a pregnant, I think now maybe it is, because that should be counted as two people. That's two lives you've taken. Alison Chambers, at 17, or just before her 17th birthday. I don't think I'd realised just how young these girls are. You know, I mean, obviously I remember all this from the time, but I was probably very young then, so I probably didn't think of them as being young. When I'm looking on at it now, I'm thinking, oh my God, they were so young. Not that it makes any difference how old they are, it's still, but you know, it just, they'd had no life whatsoever. So Alison Chambers, known as Al or Ali, was born in Hanover in West Germany, where her father was serving in the RAF. She later moved to Swansea. At the age of 16 and another rebellious teenager, oh, you know, Freddie likes to describe people as rebellious teenagers. She went to live in a children's home in Gloucester, another one from a children's home. I mean, these are so vulnerable. What is the answer here? Because I do think this vulnerability, gosh, I don't know. She was known to be a frequent visitor to 25 Cromwell Street. She worked for a firm of solicitors under a youth training scheme, and friends said she wanted constant attention. Well, she did, because she was 16, 17 years old. They do want attention. And that'll be Fred saying that. So he's brought her to the house. He's probably, you know, taking advantage of him. Bear in mind, he's older, quite a lot older by now. Yeah, she needed constant attention. Yeah. Anyway, she disappeared in August 1979, shortly before her 17th birthday. And her disappearance was reported to the Missing Persons Bureau and initially to the police as an absconder from care. Her remains were found in the garden at 25 Cromwell Street. And I think Heather was the final victim, or as far as we know. This is Heather. This is their own daughter. She's their first child. And she was born in Gloucester on the 17th of October 1970. And her murder demonstrated the depths of evil the couple were prepared to plummet to. She was 16 when she was murdered in 1987. She was the first victim whose body was found at 25 Cromwell Street and is believed to be the last victim of the West killing spree. She had lived with her family in Midland Road until 1972 when they moved to Cromwell Street. She was rebellious. Another one who's rebellious. Oh my God, so basically Fred West. I'm not going to swear, I promise I'm not going to swear. Fred West, anyone was rebellious if they just didn't do what he said. So it's, you know, it's easy to say that, oh, they're rebellious. Yeah, they're rebellious because they won't, you know, just shut up while I'm raping them or whatever. You know, for God's sake. She was rebellious, difficult, and refused to collaborate with her father's plans. Yeah, I'll bet. She and her sister would try and protect each other from their father, and Mr. Wansell said He believes she had threatened to go to the police about her father, which in his view is why she was killed. She had just finished her GCE examinations when she went missing. Her parents never reported her disappearance, although they told various people they had. In reality, Heather West had been murdered and was buried under the garden patio. And do you know that they would threaten the other children with that, like trying to make a joke of it, saying, oh, we'll bury you under the patio like we buried Heather. But they really had. They really had. Okay. Oh, am I still there? Still there. Yeah, I don't know, Brenda. You know, he must have known they'd get found sooner or later. I just can't believe that all those girls went missing, and nobody, you know, and it took 12 people to go missing before they went and looked. You know, I don't know. It's because he picked on vulnerable girls, I suppose. Now, there was something else, just because I wanted to just read to you. Lucy Partington, one of the victims, I just wanted to read out to you or show you a newspaper article from her sister, who was forgiven them. Now, I've seen this, you know, some people, obviously, I don't even know what I would do if anything like that ever happened to any of my family. Would I be able to forgive? I just don't know. I was watching, because I'm preparing a video for the Idaho murders, which I haven't done anything yet, but the trial hasn't started yet anyway, of Brian Koberger or whatever his name is. But you know, families who eventually do forgive, because if you don't, in the end, if you don't forgive, it's almost like you're living with it. You know, like, I think it's an amazing thing when people do manage to forgive someone who's done terrible things to them, because I think it's a release for them. It's a freedom. As long as hating, they're angry, almost still under their spell, aren't you? But anyway, so let me show you this, which thought, because her sister, I know there'll be conflicting thoughts on that. There'll be a lot of you think, oh, I could never forgive them, etc. But anyway, so this is Lucy Partington. This is her sister then at the time. And let's just read so this is the Gloucestershire Live. The big sister of murdered Lucy Partington says that the murderous rage she felt towards Fred and Rose West helped her to forgive the Gloucestershire serial killers for their horrific crime. Intense anger she found towards the pair for murdering kind, sensitive, humorous, warm Lucy made Marion Partington realise she was capable of killing too. No, why is it not going down? After a long journey, she has finally forgiven what they did to Exeter University student Lucy, who was just 21 when she went missing from a bus stop in Cheltenham in 1973. God, she just looked so young there, Rose. You just, bloody hell. So she had been missing for more than 20 years. Marion from, I won't be able to pronounce that, will I? Loes has spent her life reflecting and coming to him. Now she explains how, even after the horror of what her sister endured at the hands of the West, she found herself able to forgive them for what they did. So she decided to try and forgive them during a Buddhist retreat in 1996, around a year after she found out that Lucy had been one of their many victims. I did make a vow to try and forgive the West, but when I came home from this retreat, the first thing I experienced was murderous rage, she told a radio presenter during an interview. That was the first step to rehumanizing the West, because I realized I was capable of killing too. It was the first step towards connecting with the West as human beings. The rage made her want to tear her hair out and claw at the ground. So during the missing years of numbness, denial, isolation and confusion. So 20 years it was before they found out what had happened to her. Their brother Dave kept thinking he could see Lucy in the street, and their mother, oh my God, had vivid dreams of her daughter walking past them with amnesia. Marion was terrified of the family dying without ever finding out what had happened to her scholarly young sister. Anyway, this is her now, or when this article was written. So she'd been raped and tortured by the Wests, and they put her dismembered body in a hole. And when they dug up the cellar, they found her bones along with the rope used to tie her up, 2 hair grips, a few strands of hair, and the masking tape was still gagging her. Marion told the BBC about the aftermath of finding out to watch on television or read any media coverage. I just lit a candle and I prayed that something good could come out of this and something we could learn from. That was right at the beginning of the journey. It just felt vital to reclaim Lucy from the West and the media, and to write about the beauty and aspirations of her life without denying the reality of terrible physical violation and demolition, really, that happened to her body. I needed somehow to rehumanize her, because she was just a lineup of black and white images. So they couldn't have a funeral for her. Well, let me just read this. She says that the widely circulated black and white image of Lucy that appeared on the missing posters stuck all over Cheltenham came from a coloured photograph taken by their dad of the sister star. She went to visit Lucy in the morgue, and she put items such as toys and comfort blanket in her sister's coffin. The first year was very much tied up with needing to have a funeral for Lucy, which we could not have for another year, until Frederick West committed the big S, because her bones were an exhibit for the defence. Gosh, how awful. So they couldn't even bury her, because her body was, was needed for the trial. Okay, sorry, let me go back. Sorry, I just came back just to read. I shouldn't go and read the chat because I got distracted then. Let me go through this, then I'll read the chat, because then I'll be finished then. So yeah, imagine that. So you can't even have a funeral for your loved one because her bones were an exhibit for the defence. And they just be able to show a photo or a scan or something. Maybe nowadays they could, I don't know. I had a dream which led me to go and wrap her bones, which was probably the most profoundly healing thing I've ever done in my life. It did not feel real, but once I made that move and put in special objects to be with Lucy, it felt like that was the first step towards peace. Now a Quaker, Marion described the retreat where she first decided to try and forgive the killers. I began to go on Buddhist retreats, which gave me time and place to begin to unthaw. On a retreat in 1995, I saw very clearly this pain, and I came to the realization that there were different ways of expressing it, and 3 ways were very destructive. I could dump it on other people, and the extreme expression of this would be murder. I could let it corrode and corrupt me, and the extreme expression of this would be suicide. I could just try to deny it. So for some reason, I saw the most creative and imaginative way forward would be to move towards forgiveness, but I had no idea how this could happen. She said at first the word implied pious religious imperatives that had no meaning for me, but in the end it offered the promise of hope and healing. It seemed to be the only way forward if I wanted not to be corrupted and destroyed about what had happened. I don't know how these people cope, the family of any victim. I just don't know. Just don't know. I had a dream shortly after she disappeared, which became the core of this spiritual quest I've been on. In the dream, she came back and I asked where she'd been, and she said, if you sit very still, you can hear the sun move. In the dream, I had a profound feeling of peace, and I knew that if she was dead or alive, it did not matter if she was feeling like that. Oh, she's part of the F Word, a movement which promotes forgiveness, and she goes into prisons where she talks to inmates about Lucy as part of the restorative justice program. And the first thing she does is pass around a little bag Lucy made from a matted piece of wool collected in a field, which she cleaned and span into a thread using a cotton reel and pencil. Creative Lucy had an application form for the art Institute of Art when she went missing. Yeah. Gosh. So do you have to go to those trials and actually face those people? And, the anger that you must feel. Anyway, she's forgiven. She wants Rose, who was convicted for 10 murders, to know she does not feel any hostility towards her, just deep sadness. Well, I tell you what, she's a better person than me. I'm not forgiving the actions, but I have found compassion and I feel free of any sense of hatred or bitterness. So, interesting. What do you think about that? Do you think you'd be able to forgive someone? Hi, Renee. I sounded like, oh, did it keep cutting out? Did it keep cutting out? Sorry. Oh, gosh. I'm getting like a sniffy. No. I think the general feeling is no, we couldn't forgive someone. Hopefully we'll never find out, but I don't know. But sometimes if you carry hate around with you, David, if you carry hate around with you, sometimes you're the only person it hurts. And not only in extreme cases like this, but just life in general, isn't it? People shit on you all the time, basically. Sometimes it's people that you trust, your friends sometimes, your frenemies. They're the people that you think you can trust, and they're the ones that you can't. Sometimes it's your family, But it's true that if you do carry... I do. I'm not saying I'd be able to do it in those extreme cases, but every day I do try and forgive people for being twats. And then there's other times, I just think, I'm a human being. I do get really angry with people, and I think as I've got older, I am calmer than I was. I was very volatile when I was younger, but I mainly get volatile for other people. I don't like people treating people badly. I don't like injustice. I don't like, I could get quite, but that's why I could never go into politics, because I get too angry. Couldn't just sit there all calm. I'd be like Angela Rayner. I'd be like shouting scum over at the other politicians. Yeah, I think forgiveness does help you, though. But like Rio says, but whether you could do it or not, I don't know. you don't know till you're in that situation, do you? Hopefully we'll never be in that situation, but mellowed with age. Yeah, I have mellowed with age. But, and then in other ways, I put up with less shit as well, being older, you know. But I don't do it by confrontation. I do it by just not engaging with people. You know, if I can avoid people, I don't mean all you lovely people, but yeah, I don't like being around a lot of people. Well, to be honest, I find it because I tend to sort of absorb people's energy. So when I'm in a place where there's a lot of people, it's like deafening. It's awful. I don't know what, you know, I have to put a shield on myself before I go, because I get too affected by people. That's the problem. So that's not their fault. That's my fault. They're all just in their own little world or whatever. But I get feelings off people, and if I get a bad feeling, I can't ignore it. So the best thing is to just avoid them, or just be in small groups of people. You know, I can cope in small groups and like-minded people. But, you know, a lot of people give off a very negative energy, don't they? And then I tend to soak it up. Or I give out my positive energy and they take it off me, and I get home and I'm left with nothing. You know, you do feel, there are people that you go out with, and when you get home, you don't feel, oh, great, that was it, I had a great time, and you feel like all thing. You get home, you're like, you're on the floor, because they've sucked all your energy out of you. You know, so yeah, and in the end, it's like, you know, that's why I like dogs. And, you know, I don't want people to think that I don't like people. It's not that I don't like people, I just don't like horrible people. And sometimes, even when someone's pretending to be nice, I just know it straight away. And, you know, I find it uncomfortable to be around them. So picking up on other people's mood hoovers, that's a good expression. I like that, mood hoovers. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, if people are angry or aggressive, it makes me nervous. Do you know, I've always been the same like that. I remember when I was young and I worked in a pub, I knew before any fight broke out, I knew, I could feel it. About 15 minutes before, you'd have people, you know, 1 minute they're laughing and joking that, and then just the atmosphere changes, doesn't it? And you can feel it. It's like actually tangible, and I think something's going to kick off here, and then 10 minutes later, boom, it's the vibes. Yeah Energy vampires, some people, unfortunately, you know. Okay, so that's it. So I didn't go into details of all the crimes that I don't like doing that. As you know, I wanted to talk about the victims particularly, because myself included, when I was, you know, I've read a lot about this case and I've watched a lot of, and when I was trying to think of the victims, I was struggling to think of all the names and that. And I thought, that's not right. Their names should come first. Before, you know, we all know Fred and Rose West, and it's not only in that case, it's in most cases of serial killers. Some serial killers, like Ted Bundy, there's so many of them, you'd be really struggling to remember all their names. You know, there's probably, you know, 70 or 80 people to remember, but it's important to try and, you know, highlight the victims where we can. Desi, you couldn't live in my, do you know what I've had to put up with today? Because, you know, and it's not their fault. You know, Spanish people are noisy and they don't go into each other's houses. They literally, you've got like my neighbour on one side, a neighbour over the road there, and then a neighbour up the other end of the road having a conversation from their doors. So they're shouting, they don't care who hears it. That one's shouting over to that one, who's shouting over to that one. Then they all decided to congregate, because I'm in the middle. So they all decided to congregate outside my gate. I don't know what they were doing, because I have to just switch off from it. So I just shut the windows and pull the blind down. I bet they think, oh God, she's really ignorant. But what was I supposed to do? Go out and say, well, what are you doing? You're doing something in the street. I don't know what, but And it's like, yeah, sometimes when you hear those bangs or you hear that, because they speak so loudly and excitedly, many times I'm not sure if they're arguing or not, and should I be ringing the police because their voices get louder and louder and louder, and I'm sat there and I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if they're arguing. Are they arguing? And then you hear ha 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 like that, and I think, no, they're not arguing, and they'll be talking about something, nothing, dead exciting or whatever. They'll be talking about something dead ordinary, like, what washing powder they use or whatever. But it sounds as if they're, I don't know. But that is how it is in Spain. So it drive you mad. Do you get that there as well, Wendy? Yeah. And at night it is, unsettling. Night, Princess Tippy Toes. I think she's going to. Anyway. I'm reading the. Now tonight is Sunday, so I won't. They've been out all day because there's still the fiestas, so they've been out all day doing stuff and what have you. So they will have an earlier night tonight. So they've got school and work in the morning, so I don't think I'll get any noise. Riley's lying at my feet here because, of course, he don't like the bangs, so he's been glued to my foot while I've been on the stream. But anyway, night all. Take care. Remember to live and love wisely, carefully. Don't hitchhike. Please don't hitchhike. Don't let any of your family hitchhike. Oh, my God. I don't even like getting in taxis. Never mind getting in cars with people I don't know. Thank you, Tina. Bye, David. Bye, Renee. Oh, is it like that? Oh, it sounds like we've all got the same problem. So, I'll see you again really soon. Oh, thank you, Saskia. I'll see you again very, very soon. Until I see you again, may your God go with you. And I have to look for some more masks to wear, won't I? Night. I've quite got a feather in my mouth, and I've quite enjoyed wearing the boa. I never go out, so it's the only chance I get to dress up. So, thank you so much. Night.